They stopped, okay. Good. That was 3 classes.
I think so.
2 classes? 2 classes. Well, in this rate, we should finish by a couple of weeks. I think Srila Bhakti said, I don't know. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadyasya yathonvayat itvartashchateshvabhya swarat. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye Muyanti Yat Surya. Tejavarim Ridam Yatha Vinamayo Yatra Tri Sargom Risha. Damna Swena Sada Narasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dimahi. I'm just going to read it now. I'll read the part of the purport. I'll read the translation actually. Anyone has the translation memorized? Translation is a purport in itself. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, O Son of Vasudeva, all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Krishna, Lord Sri Krishna, because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, substance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory energy, by the illusory representation of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes temporarily manifested by the reaction of the 3 modes of material nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. So, Srila Prabhupada's purport. Unscrupulous persons go immediately to the 10th canto, and especially to the 5 chapters which describe the Lord's rasa dance. This portion of the Srimad Bhagavatam is the most confidential part of the great literature. Unless one is thoroughly accomplished in the transcendental knowledge of the Lord, one is sure to misunderstand the Lord's worshipful transcendental pastimes called rasa dance and his love affairs with the gopis. This subject matter is highly spiritual, and only the liberated person who have gradually attained to the stage of Paramahamsa can transcendently relish this rasa dance. Srila Vyasadeva therefore gives the reader the chance to gradually develop spiritual realization before actually relishing the essence of the pastimes of the Lord. Therefore, he purposely invokes a Gayatri mantra, Dhimahi. This Gayatri mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people. When one is successful in chanting the Gayatri mantra, he is sure to enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must therefore acquire Brahminical qualities or be perfectly situated in the quality of goodness in order to chant the Gayatri mantra successfully, and then attain to the state of transcendently realizing the Lord, his name, his fame, his qualities, and so on. Namo Vishnuvadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shnivadi Paskadyade Satarna. For the 10th canto, to appreciate it, or to experience it, one has to have spiritual senses. Of course, we have spiritual senses, but they're now covered. And the example is used to try to experience prasadam. Having a glove on your tongue is rather difficult to actually understand exactly what the prasadam tastes like. Similarly, as long as our spiritual senses are covered, we cannot actually experience the reality of transcendence, especially, and what to speak of the transcendental pastimes of rasa between Krishna and his devotees. Therefore, as Sridevi, Su is also auspicious.
Okay.
Sridevi. The verse she read yesterday, Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam taya parita chetasam vyavasayatmaka buddhi samado na vidiyate. So the word, at least in the translation, is the word determination. So where is that in the verse? Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam taya parita chetasam vyavasayatmaka buddhi samado na vidiyate. Oh, the determination is not there. And in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yesham antakatam bhavam jananam punya karmanam te dvanva moha nirmuktva bhajante mam drida vrataha. Those who have passed their lives practicing pious activities, who've given up all sinful activities, who are free from the dualities of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. So what level of transcendental realization is that? Sri Devi.
Sorry, I spaced out.
What's that?
I spaced out.
That's not the realization. The verse, Yesham tvantakatam papam janam punya karmanam te dvanva mohanirmuktva bhajante mam drida vrata. What level of realization, Krishna consciousness, is that being described? What's that? Yes, Nishta. And the progression is, as Prabhupada writes in the purport, there are 4 kinds of impious persons who never take to Krishna consciousness. So who are those 4 kinds of impious persons who never take to Krishna consciousness?
Mudhas, the Maya Paharita Jnana, that means those who are deluded by the illusory energy.
No, that's those who are sinful.
So the sinful, atheistic, and the mental speculators.
Yeah. So those who are too sinful, who are atheistic, who are foolish and deceitful. So who are the foolish?
The Mudhas.
And who are sinful?
Duskritina.
They're all discretinas.
What is the word for that?
Naradamas.
Narada.
And who are those who are foolish, sinful, atheistic, and who are deceitful?
Maya Paharita Jnana.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not.
But it is. You're right. And who are the atheistic?
Ashurim, Bhava Ashritaha.
Yes, that's right. So these 4 kinds of sinful people, they never take to Krishna consciousness. And those who practice the regular principles of religion, that's the beginning, to practice the regular principles of religion. And what are the 4 regular principles of religion?
No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex.
Oh, and positively, what are the 4 qualities?
Austerity, truthfulness, mercy, and cleanliness.
Yeah. So one who practices those things, just like we're supposed to practice cleanliness. We're supposed to wash our hands before we take prasadam. And even after we take prasadam, we're still supposed to wash our hands. I know the sink is far away. Prasadam is nearby. Even to say the prayer is a great austerity. we feel so much separation from prasadam. A moment seems like 12 years or more. But we're supposed to be clean and austere, get up regulated time, get up in the morning is considered a great austerity. What would people, when people ask you, what time do you get up? How many people ask you what time you get up? If you say, I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. People think, are you sick? Are you suffering from insomnia? And mercy, people have no conception what mercy is. They think if you don't kill your neighbor when they blast their stereo, you're being very merciful. So these qualities of mercy, austerity, cleanliness, and truthfulness. I mean, how many people are truthful? The first thing that comes out of most, if you try to sell people a book on the street and you ask for a donation, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is usually a lie. They say, I'm sorry, I have no money. No, just give anything, whatever you like. They open their wallet, they're looking through the 100-euro notes, trying to see if they have anything less than 100. Oh, here's a 50. I'm sorry, I have no money. I can give you change. How much would you like to give? Oh, I can give 2 euros. Oh, what? Yes, can't you give a little bit more? I'm sorry, I'm broke, I have no money. Well, where's all that other money? Oh, that belongs to my aunt. I'm just carrying it around for her. And they consider themselves very truthful. I would never tell you a lie. Although, because the reality is my imagination. Whatever I imagine is real. So those who practice the regular principles of religion, who have acted piously, of course in this age, piety means to chant Hare Krišna. Otherwise, what is piety? What are people doing that's pious? Even they give in charity to others, they give some donation to some beggar on the street. If the beggar uses it for sinful activities, then your charity actually involves you in sinful activities. He goes to hell, and you paid for his ticket. And so you get a free ride too. So in this age, piety means to engage in devotional service, punya, krita punya, and to chant Hare Krišna. Then the next stage is what? Does anyone remember? Conquer sinful reactions. So what does it mean, conquer sinful reactions? You take a sword and say, all right, sinful reactions, I'm ready for you, come and get me. Conquered the sinful reactions. What does it mean to conquer the sinful reactions? Has anyone here ever conquered any sinful reaction? I've gotten everyone bewildered. But I'm just repeating the purport. What could you imagine means conquer the sinful reactions? Yes, tolerate. And how do we tolerate? What's that? Yes, both correct. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudram apa pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamiyam pravishanti sarve sashantim apnoti nakama kami. Sridevi, what does that mean? Apuryamanam. What does purya mean? Purna.
Purna, complete.
Complete, yes, full. Apuryamanam, so a person is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into an ocean, which is always being filled, which is always still, alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So how is it possible that we can avoid desiring the objects of the senses? The only way of doing that is that we have to have a higher taste. In other words, if we're actually thinking about Krishna and experiencing his presence with our transcendental senses, relishing pleasure, what did Jamunacharya say?
As I remember Krishna and taste heavenly pleasures in his service, the thought of sex life, I spit at that thought.
Yes. So the point is, if we get a higher taste by Krishna consciousness, after all, Krishna is the reservoir of pleasure, and therefore we become full of pleasure by associating with Krishna, then everything else seems tuchavat, insignificant. And although the desires may enter into our minds, we don't become distracted by them. But in the absence of Krishna consciousness, every desire that enters into our mind, every thought that enters into our mind becomes a distraction. Should I go get an ice cream? Or maybe a pizza? Maybe I should go to the movie. Maybe I should go to sleep. Maybe I should see what's on the internet. Did I check my Facebook account? So in the absence of Krishna consciousness, we'll be distracted by so many thoughts, one after another. But if there's Krishna consciousness, then we won't be allured by all these. Even some thought comes, it will seem insignificant in comparison, if we have a high enough level of consciousness of Krishna. Therefore, conquering sinful reactions means that we absorb our consciousness in Krishna's service, Krishna consciousness, and therefore we're not disturbed by these desires. And they go away. Maya is simply sending these desires according to our past activities in order to try to allure us, to see if we're sincere. It's not that we go back to the spiritual world and we have a desire who actually won the football tournament. And we inquire from our chief gopi, is there an internet connection here? I'm just a little curious. No, as long as we have material desires, we wouldn't feel very comfortable in the spiritual world. We carry with us our thoughts. What's going on there? Who won the election? I have to go back. I forgot to answer my Facebook page. Sorry. This is your return trip. So we have to conquer this by developing a higher and higher taste in Krishna consciousness, and then the material desires seem less and less important. Until then, sometimes the material desires seem more important, and the spiritual desires seem less important. But gradually there's a balance so that the spiritual desires seem greater than the material desires. Then one can actually accept devotional service. Now we're doing bhajana kriya. Bhajana kriya means practice. So our service is not necessarily so devotional, but it's trying to develop into devotional service. And there's two stages, anishtata bhajana kriya and nishta bhajana kriya. Anartha nivritti, actually, the clearing stage. So first, we're not really being cleared very much of our material desires. well, we are being cleared of material desires, but they're still there. It goes from Utsahamai to Ganatarala to Vyuda Vikalpa, Sangara, Vishaya Sangara, Niyama Akshama, and Taranga Rangini. So these are the stages of gradually giving up our material desires and our false renunciation, and then trying to enjoy the results. Then Anartha Nivritti, of which the chanting purely, without offense, the holy names becomes important. And then one comes to the platform of Nishta, steadiness. And that stage, material desires are not so attractive. Even the material desires may be present, but one is not so much concerned with them. So we're practicing to come to that platform, mostly by concentrating on Krishna and making the decision to hear and chant nicely, and then not to get distracted by whatever comes after that. It's not that now I'm making an effort and Maya will just go away. No, as soon as we make an effort, then Maya will come on twice as strong. As Krishna says, Yogas Chalati Manasa. Maya will try to distract the practitioner by some allurements. Usually it's material comfort, wealth, and sex life. Material acquisitions and sex life, sense gratification. Those are her two things that have kept most living entities distracted since time immemorial. I am the controller and I am the enjoyer. Then the next stage, when one accepts the devotional service, one can understand Krishna in truth. One can experience Krishna as he actually is, rather than our theoretical understanding of him. One can actually experience Krishna with our transcendental senses. And as it says in the Bhagavad Gita, upon obtaining this, one thinks there's no greater gain. And one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, enjoyed through transcendental senses. So we're thinking, well, maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, but maybe we're a little curious to find out what it would be like, but it's so long, the process. There's so many other things I should be doing. Maybe next lifetime. But that's so long. Why doesn't it get quicker? Maybe there's a quick way to become Krishna conscious. Maybe there's a quick way I can force Krishna to reveal himself to me. Krishna, I'm on the edge of the cliff. If you don't reveal yourself to me, then I'm going to jump. Krishna says, don't jump, but I'm not going to reveal myself to you. Anyhow, conquer sinful reactions, rise up to the platform of actually pure devotional service, understand Krishna in truth, and then one becomes so much in love with Krishna, then one meditates upon Krishna. I think the word is meditation, as it says here, Dhimahi. One can meditate in trance on the personality of Godhead. Gradually rise to the pure knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then meditate in trance upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the purpose of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Dhimahi, to meditate in trance upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the first thing is to hear about him, as I've explained before. But not only hear about him, but to memorize. Now we may say, well, my memory is not very good. Well, that's because we never try to meditate on Krishna, memorize Krishna, about Krishna. Therefore, our memory has been taken away. What's that verse where our memory is taken away? Begins with...
Vedantikrit Vedavid eva chaham. I give knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness. That one. Yes. Is that the one?
No. It said the word smriti, though. That's good. Dhyayato vishayam pumsam sangas teshu pujayate sangas sanjayate kama kroda pujayate kroda bhavati samoha samaha smriti vibramsat smriti bramsat buddhinasho buddhinashat pranashati. As soon as we start looking around for something to control and enjoy, the result is that we become lusty. We become attached to that object or reverse to it, and then lust arises. Material energy supplies us with lust. Otherwise, there's no impetus in the material world. Lust is the impetus. And then from lust comes greed, from greed comes anger, from anger comes delusion. So we know we're in delusion because we know we performed sinful activities in the past because we're deluded. We're thinking we're this body or the subtle mind. Therefore, this indicates that there is lust, anger, and greed stored in our heart that's covering us. Otherwise, how can we be in delusion or illusion? If we weren't covered by lust, anger, and greed, we're not covered by bliss, knowledge, and eternity right now. So it must be something else. Then that illusion, that whole conception of what's going on in the material world, our whole imagination that's driving us in the material world, causes us to forget. Every time we hear Bhagavad Gita, Deno sminyata dehe kamaram yovanam jara tata dahantara praptira diryas tatra namuyati. So our bodies are changing, but we're not changing. If we actually heard it even once, then we walk out of here fully, at least self-realized. But we walk out of here and say, yeah, I'm not this body. Hey, what's for prasadam anyhow? I'm hungry. I got to feed this car. No, we get distracted and our memory goes away. And then when our memory goes away, we have nothing to dig into to figure out what to do. It's not that we forget everything. I mean, at least not right now. But then we have very little to figure out what to do with because we have no memory. We try to figure out what should I do, what should I do, not do, and we look into our memory and there's nothing there. So we just say, well, do whatever I want to do, of course. Whatever I feel like it. Then we lose our intelligence. And then our activities are mundane. Therefore, the first thing to do is hear. The second thing to do is remember. And how do we remember? We constantly repeat. How do you remember anything? You repeat it. It's like, how do we remember what our names are? Has anyone ever forgotten their name? Someone asks, who are you? You go, give me a hint. That time may come. That happens in Kali Yuga. You've heard that story about the man who was discussing about the restaurant. This fantastic restaurant he went yesterday with his wife. So the man says, well, what was the name of the restaurant? His friend asked, what's the name of the restaurant? He said, well, I can't remember. Maybe you can give me a hint. So he says, well, okay, what's the hint? Well, as far as I remember, it's a flower, and it's red, and it smells very good. Rose, that's right, Rose. Hey, Rose, what was that restaurant we went to yesterday? So that's forgetfulness. Well, that's as Sri Devi was saying, that is because Krishna supplies it according to what we deserve and what we desire. But we want to remember. So if we can't remember, we shouldn't get something, remember a verse, then we should make an effort to do it. Krishna will help that effort and give us remembrance. How did people remember verses previously? Well, they'd remember the verse, like the verse from yesterday. Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam haya prita chetasam vyavasayatmaka buddhi samadho navadiyate. Well, first they remember it forwards, and then they remember it backwards. Can anyone say what the last word in that verse is? And the word before that?
No.
And the one before that?
Samadho.
And the one before that?
Buddhi.
Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam taya purita chetasam vyavasayatmaka buddhi samadho navidiyate. And the one before that?
The verse before that?
No, the word before that. Before buddhi. And the one before that?
Chetasam.
What was that?
Chetasam.
Tirtasam?
Chetasam. Chetasam, right?
Bhogaishvara prasaktanam vyavasayatmaka. Bhogaishvara prasaktanam taya parita chesam vyavasayatmaka buddhi. Vyavasayatmaka. Yeah. Anyhow, so now we have to think about it. Sri Devi at least knows the verse, and she even knows it. But if she thinks about it, she can get it backwards. Once you get it backwards, then the next step is you do every other word. And then you do every other word backwards. And then you do every third word, and every third word backwards. By the time you get through that exercise, when you go to sleep at night, the only thing you can think of is the verse. What's your name? Vyavasayatmaka buddhi. But it implants in the memory by repetition. And what to speak of seeing it? If we see something, then we generally won't forget it. If you watch a movie, even a karmi movie, then how difficult it is to forget it. Even movies we've seen in our childhood. I worked at a movie theater when I was maybe 14 years old or something, 15. And I still remember the movies because I saw them. I was an usher. So I saw the movies I don't know how many times. I still remember. I won't tell you what they were. So when you can actually see something, how much it implants within our memory. Then the next thing is to understand what we saw. To have some kind of realization of what we're looking at, what we're actually seeing. Well, that's the same thing as experiencing it. Then the conviction to act according to it. One thing is theoretical knowledge. The other thing is to actually put into practice, conviction. Then from that put in practice, then we get realizations. Krishna supplies realizations. Tadami buddhi yogam tam. The more we constantly engage in that activity with enthusiasm, then Krishna provides more and more intelligence, and the result is it becomes refined. It becomes a skill. It becomes like riding a bicycle. Anyone here ever ride a bicycle? No bicycle. Okay. Ever ride a bicycle? Adela? Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. That's right. So when you first rode a bicycle, did you zip down the block? Anyone ever fall riding a bicycle? Did you ever fall riding a bicycle, Adela? As soon as you got on the bicycle, you just zip down the block?
That means, did you just go very smoothly down the block the first time you rode your bicycle?
Yeah. You just got on the bicycle and you zipped down you went down the block without any problem? No. took some practice to get better. Yes, of course. So similarly, we realize something and think, now I'm self-realized, I know everything. And then we try to apply it, we suddenly realize I have a few spots, that I have a few things that I have to fill in to actually know it perfectly. So that's called skill. We have to develop transcendental expertise in even the most basic things. We have to fill it in. Transcendental discrimination and expertise. Then the result is we develop the character of a pure devotee. And the character of a pure devotee is everywhere we look at, we just see potential for service to Krishna. And Krishna supplies us with what he wants us to do and how he wants us to do it, he gives us the mood, the intelligence, everything is supplied by Krishna. And everything is seen as just a huge opportunity to render loving service to Krishna. The whole world becomes full of Krishna's pastimes, of pure loving devotion and service to him. So that's the character of a pure devotee. And within his, externally, he sees everything as an opportunity to serve Krishna. And internally, he's seeing the wonderful pastimes of Krishna and his devotees of service, and becoming more and more inspired by those loving pastimes to serve Krishna even better, as the other residents of Vrindavan are doing. So that can develop gradually. So this is what Srimad Bhagavatam is about, and it'll help us develop from following the regular principles of religion to acting piously, conquering sinful reactions, accepting pure devotional service, understand Krishna in understanding Krishna in truth, and then meditating in trance upon the Krishna out of love and devotion. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, for such a wonderful class. As you said, repeating, practicing, that's what is going to help us. I just was remembering a quote of Srila Prabhupada wherein he said, after all, it took me 40 years to perfect my chanting. So how can we understand this? Because Prabhupada is a pure devotee. He never ever forgot Krishna. So how can we understand this quote?
I can't understand it.
Oh.
How would you understand it? All we can do is speculate. How can a pure devotee take 40 years to perfect something? Well,
that's what Prabhupada said. This is just maybe.
Well, they probably asked him, Srila Prabhupada, how long did it take you to perfect your chanting? And he may have said 40 years. And if we can do it in 40 years, we'll be doing quite well. In other words, what Prabhupada said and what he did sometimes is not necessarily, it was for us
to
understand.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? So what did you understand from the class, Nitya Seva Devi Dasi?
We were talking about pillars of the religion, which is truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, and tapasya. Sacrifice, austerity.
Sure. Tapasya and austerity are the same thing.
Yeah. We discussed about this, and also how we should tolerate the reactions of the sinful activities from the past.
Can you give us an example of how to tolerate sinful reactions?
How to tolerate? By engaging the senses in the service.
Well, say for example, someone says, "You're ugly." And we say, "Arr, arr." You think, wait a second, I'm not this body. Ultimately this body is pretty ugly.
Yeah, I was just about to say this. Yeah, I mean, if somebody passes a bad comment, for example, to tolerate, in a sense, to understand the reality that we are actually not this body. And any insult done is actually to the body, but not to yourself, because to begin with, you're not even this body. So that's one thing.
Yes, good. Thank you. Today, what understanding or realization or comment you'd like to make?
Actually, I have one question.
Okay.
I was going on my mind, because more time devotees said, I don't understand this really, because they say that you have spiritual doing and then you have material doing, and that you must sometimes do something material, and this is not connected with Krishna, but in the Shastras it is written that everything is under control of Krishna. So why devotees say that some things, that material things are not connected with Krishna?
Well, because they're just aspiring devotees. They don't understand the philosophy. It's not that Shastra says one thing and some aspiring devotee says another thing, and therefore it's up for grabs what's true. No, everything, obviously, if everything's connected to Krishna, practically everything can be done in Krishna's service. But Krishna's service means that we have to do it to please Krishna under his authorities. Not that we do anything and claim, because everything is Krishna. Whatever I do is devotional service. No, devotional service means to understand everything belongs to Krishna, but I have to find out what Krishna wants me to do through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And if I do it to please him, then that's called Krishna consciousness. The definition of pure devotional service. So practically everything can be used in Krishna's service, but not everything. We don't use slaughterhouses in Krishna's service, for instance. Nor do we have a Hare Krišna brothel. So, those things are not, sinful activities are generally not dovetailed in Krishna's service. On the other hand, there's so many things that we think are mundane. They can also be done for Krishna, even occupations, doing one's job. But it should be done in the way that Krishna wants. And it should be done for Krishna, and therefore Krishna should get the results. Here in the temple, if you do deity worship, Krishna gets the result. Maybe you can walk away with a stick of incense or something, but it's prasadam. Anything else? Kuala Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.